Now, I want us to imagine with me, what is the probability of these prophecies being fulfilled in one person? There is a mathematician by name Peter Stoner who has written a book called as Science Speaks. And he has taken 8 of these prophecies and he calculated the probability of 8 of these prophecies being fulfilled in one person. And he says the chances of that happening is 1 upon 10 raised to 17. Now, for us to understand probability, I think a little bit of explanation would be necessary. If you flip a coin, you have either heads or tails. So what is the probability of the head coming on the top? It is 1 out of the 2 possibilities. So 1 upon 2. If I roll a dice, what is the possibility of number 4 coming on the top? It is 1 out of 6 total possibilities. And so what is the probability of 8 prophecies being fulfilled in one person? Peter Stoner says it is 1 upon 1 and then 17 zeros after it, which means the probability is very, very low. In fact, he gives us a pictorial example for us to understand. He says if you take 10 raised to 17 coins, and if you were to spread them over the state of Texas, the entire state of Texas would be covered by these coins 2 feet deep. That's how big a number 10 raised to 17 is. It could cover the entire state of Texas 2 feet deep. Now, he says, pick any one coin out of the entire state of Texas, which is covered with coins. Take any one coin and mark it with a permanent marker. Jumble up all these coins such that nobody knows where this coin is, and then blindfold a person and ask that person to pick up a coin. What is the probability that he would pick up the right coin? The person can go to any place in Texas and pick any coin. But what's the probability of his picking up the right coin? That's the kind of probability Peter Stoner says in 8 prophecies being fulfilled in one person. Josh McDowell has written a book called as Evidence That Demands a Verdict, and this example is found right there for all of us to read. What are they trying to tell us? They're trying to tell us that humanly speaking, it is impossible for anyone or a group of people to make predictions of the kind that have been made about Jesus. What is all of this pointing us to? Number one, Jesus is unique. There is no one in the history of humanity who can boast that his or her life was predicted with such accuracy before his or her birth. No one in this world can boast of any prophecy at all that has been predicted about their life. And therefore, Jesus is unique. There is no one like him. And this is part 1 of our discussions. Why is Jesus unique? Jesus is unique, part A, because of the prophecies that have been prophesied about him in the Old Testament. This also leads us to another point, the unity of the Bible. See, when these prophecies were being made about Jesus, it's not like Isaiah and David and Moses and Zechariah and all the others came around a table and began to discuss among themselves and said, let's prophesy about someone who would come. You prophesy concerning the place of his birth, and you prophesy concerning his ministry. You prophesy concerning the resurrection, and I will prophesy about the death and suffering. That's not the way it happened. In fact, David never met Isaiah. Isaiah never met Moses. Moses never met Zechariah. These prophets, many of them were separated by hundreds of years, but they're all pointing to one individual into the future, the coming Messiah. One is predicting about his place of birth, and one is predicting about the time of his birth, and so on. Even without these people knowing each other. How is this possible? This is possible because these people were inspired by the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit was preparing a group of people for the Messiah who was to come. So number one, what we discussed today points to the fact that Jesus is unique. Number two, it also points to the fact that the Bible is unique. It also points to the fact that the Bible is one book. There are many authors, but there's ultimately one author who is inspiring the hearts and minds of these people to write what they have written. There is no other book that makes accurate predictions like the Bible does. Number four, I want to talk about the sovereignty of God. How could God tell these people about events that were to happen hundreds of years later? It is because God knows history. He knows the twists and the turns of history. He knows who is going to be born, where, and how. Everything is known to him. He controls history. He is sovereign over history. And finally, this also points to the truthfulness of the gospel and the reliability of the Bible. Many people say that the Bible is a book that is 2,000 years old. What is its relevance for today? Well, the relevance of the book is the fact that it is inspired by God, and it makes these kinds of prophecies concerning the Messiah, which were all fulfilled in him. So when we come to the end of part A in our series called The Uniqueness of Jesus, we have looked at prophecies concerning the lineage of the Messiah, the place and time of his birth, his titles, his names, his roles. We discussed prophecies concerning his deity or his divinity. We talked about prophecies concerning the ministry of Jesus, prophecies concerning the suffering and death of Jesus, prophecies concerning the resurrection and the ascension of Jesus. And with this, in part A, we point to the fact that there is no one like Jesus. He is unique because of all the prophecies in the Old Testament concerning him. In part 2, we will pick up another characteristic of Jesus which makes him unique.